What if you always dream of flying, but you are the only black man in the US Navy? Everybody is looking at every single move you make. So, you talk to yourself in the mirror every day to remind yourself that you are good enough.
Your monkey ass shouldn't even be flying.
And then came a new pilot that changed your life forever. Welcome to What a Story. During the Korean War, Naval aviator Lieutenant Tom Hudner relocated to Rhode Island. As he enters the changing rooms, he overhears a commotion from the lavatories. As Jesse Brown leaves the restroom, Hudner introduces himself. Jesse queries whether he is the transfer. Hudner is introduced to the other members of the Fighter Squadron 32, Carol, Bo, Marty, and Bill. They are all under the command of Lieutenant Commander Dick Sevely. Sevely reveals to the group that the Soviet Union tested its bomb, and that it won't be long before they attach it to a bomber. Hudner is paired with Brown by Sevely. Hudner drops his hood while walking to the planes, and Jesse picks it up. Hudner claims that he always keeps it, since you never know when you'll need it. Brown flies through the air without giving risks a second thought. He always has control, but not in the conventional sense. While returning home, they make a detour. Hudner isn't used to flying like this. Brown even dives into a residential neighborhood, and if you look attentively, a lady is standing in her front yard. Hudner queries Brown about the incident after returning to the locker room. Brown responds that the only way to learn about your wingman is at the height of 2,000 feet. Hudner invites Brown to get a drink to get to know him better, but Brown declines because he doesn't drink. Sevely invites the team over to his house for clams. Hudner admits to Lavery that he enlisted in the Navy as soon as he learned about Pearl Harbor. 1 month after the war's end, he received his degree. Lavery asks Hudner if he thinks he'd be in a squadron with a colored aviator. Hudner avoids the query and walks over to the meal. Brown travels by car. He waves at a neighbor who is not pleased to see him. While his wife Daisy is painting the hallway walls, he enters the house on tiptoe and startles her. Their 3-year-old daughter, Pam, and their relationship are enjoyable and loving. The Browns' evening is suddenly cut short by a knock at the door. When they opened the door, it was the police informing them that a noise complaint had been made about them. The next day, Sevely tells the group that a recon plane that had been shot at came ashore. The squad will now get ready for the Russians to arrive in a new sort of aircraft known as a Widowmaker. The pilot's primary source of power while flying is the engine. She will flip you over if you apply too much throttle. A home might be flipped with enough torque, thus, the pilots must be cautious. Hudner notices Brown on the road with car issues on the way home. He offers to drive him. While driving, Hudner claims he didn't want to take over his father's grocery stores because he felt drawn to adventure. Brown joined the Navy because he always wanted to fly with the best pilots. Daisy offers Hudner a drink, but Brown disagrees because Hudner must have other plans. Daisy tells Brown to be courteous. The pilots inspect the Widowmakers personally. They practice piloting the new type of plane by going through drills together. To hone their skills, the team worked hard at studying and training. They learn they are being shipped out. Sevely informs the group that the carrier qualifications will soon take place. Brown tells Daisy that he is nervous, so Daisy boosts Brown's confidence before he leaves home. The following morning, Brown hides in the restroom. He looks at himself in the mirror until everyone else in the locker room has left. He then makes repeated disparaging remarks to himself. It's a testing day, and Hudner is flying his aircraft. He is landing, and everyone on the team is watching. He completes it without incident. Brown is the next to go. The entire black crew of the carrier approaches to observe. Brown is flying too high. Hudner advises him from afar to raise his head. Brown misses the carrier as the flag man leads him up. He turns around again and feels the pressure. He succeeds in getting the aircraft down. Everyone has completed their carrier quals, and Hudner did it with flying colors. Hudner gives Brown a lift home. This time, Brown lets him stay. Daisy offers Hudner a beverage and requests that he be present for Brown. Brown has fun spending the evening at the beach with his family. The team sprints to their planes the following day on the carrier, going up and down the stairs. But Sevely believes they need to do better because it's only a drill. The squad returns to their quarters, but Brown is asked to give an interview to Life magazine, so that they can publish a positive narrative to public concerns about another possible war. While the interviewer wants the race card topic, Brown wants to be treated the same as any other pilot. Brown is saved by Sevely, who helps him return to his job. Brown is mocked by one of the army men below deck. Hudner engages the man head-on, but Brown encourages the pilots to engage in conversation. While Brown claims this is preferable, Hudner intended to teach that guy a lesson. For a job that nobody wants to do, Sevely needs a volunteer. Hudner offers, but Brown nudges Mooring to take the job instead. Mooring completes the duties in the aircraft but is unable to land. The aircraft plunges into the water. Mooring's passing saddens everyone. But Brown clarifies that he doesn't want Hudner talking about what he could have done. Hudner argues that if the pilots follow instructions, they won't perish. The pilots toast Mooring later on. When it's just the two of them, Brown tells Hudner about his life at the academy. Because they didn't think a black man could swim, they made him retake his tests 10 times. They put ice in the water, held him under, and stuck rocks in his flight suit. They didn't care whether he drowned in that pool, but Brown always made it out. If he followed the advice of others, he would be dead. He was attempting to teach Mooring that. The ship lands in Cannes. The pilots go sightseeing on land. Brown enters a store to buy a gift for Daisy when he notices a large group of sailors. When he arrives to investigate, he finds Elizabeth Taylor. Brown receives an invitation from Elizabeth Taylor to a casino party. The pilots arrive but are not allowed into the French casino. However, when Brown begins speaking French, they reluctantly permit them entry. Brown introduces the group to Elizabeth Taylor. They dance, drink, and have fun. They appreciated Elizabeth Taylor's invitation, and then transferred to a different location. Hudner notices a lovely woman and piques her interest by doing a magic performance. When the army soldiers from the carrier arrive, a brawl breaks out because the man believes Brown ruined his chance to get close to Elizabeth back at the casino. Later, Brown tells Hudner that he can fight his fight since he's been doing it for a long time. The next day, Sevely informs the group that the North Koreans have seized Seoul. The vessel departs for Korea. To prevent the Chinese from putting in more troops, the task is to destroy 2 bridges across a significant river along the border. Sevely travels this time with the group. Hudner confirms that Sevely's aircraft's landing gear is malfunctioning, and gives Hudner the order. As they pass, the enemy fires at them. They cannot completely destroy the bridges, but Brown disobeys orders and returns to finish the job. In Korea, the army guys are now on the ground, freezing, and waiting for the Chinese to attack. Suddenly, a shot was heard and started the war. Hudner hands his mission report to Sevely. He stated exactly what happened. Brown confronts him about it and says discipline for Brown differs from discipline for anyone else. Hudner understands and asks the team to write their accounts to clear Brown. Hudner walks in on Brown, repeating to himself in the mirror every hateful word anyone has ever said to him. Hudner tells him that he got the other guys to give testimony that the mission was complicated and Brown did the right thing. But Brown knows a piece of paper won't help him. Hudner asks what he wants him to do, and Brown replies that he needs to be his wingman. On deck, Brown gets some fresh air. A black crew member joins him. He tells Brown that they all heard he had some excellent flying the other day, and wanted to let Brown know that they saw him. They all pitched in and bought him a watch in Cannes. This gesture touches Brown. On the runway, Brown runs into a friend from the past whom he calls Alabama. Alabama is with the search and rescue unit. Brown sent a letter to Daisy. He hid her birthday present and left her with hints on where to look. She discovers the earrings in Pam's closet as a gift. The crew and Sevely are briefed. The army is engaged in an undescribable battle. It is a risky undertaking, and the boys are just hanging on. Air support would be beneficial. The Marines on the ground pray before the pilots show up, allowing them to finally move their vantage position. They beat them up, but when they depart, Hudner sees that Brown's jet is fuel leaking. Brown states that it's oil. Because he won't last for long, he must quickly bring the jet to a stop. Brown fires off all of his missiles to prevent them from falling into enemy hands. Brown lands violently. Hudner is unable to see him move. To check Brown, he chooses to crash-land his plane. Despite the attempts of the other pilots to convince him otherwise, he launches his missiles and stops his plane. Brown gets squished between his seat and the instrument panel as he rushes to help him. They both try to get it off of him, but they are unable to do so. Alabama overhears and informs them that he is en route. Hudner lends Brown his beanie cap to keep him warm in the bitter weather. Hudner uses snow to put out the fire on Brown's engine. When Alabama shows up, Brown is still stranded. He is still wedged despite their efforts to release him. Brown, progressively losing strength, requests Hudner to assure Daisy of his continued devotion. Hudner begins to bash the plane with all his strength to liberate Brown but stops when he learns Brown has died. Hudner assures Brown that he will return after they depart. While pleading with his officers, Hudner is refused permission to return for Brown's body. The remains of Brown were never found. Daisy gets a letter from the War Department. She is overtaken by emotion. After some time has passed, Daisy takes a flight to Washington, where President Truman awards the Medal of Honor to Jesse Brown and Tom Hudner. Hudner confides in Daisy about his fear of today after the ceremony. Daisy informs him that she values what he did. According to Hudner, Brown's final instructions to him were to tell Daisy that he loves her. The Hudner and Brown families remained close for the rest of their lives, and so did their offspring. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next story.